if you're looking for it. So, are there any other announcements? None. We have no removals or impeachment representatives. We do have special orders for presentation from the HR design team. Are there any motions to move out of rules? So moved. Second, awesome. Any objections to moving out of rules? Somebody has a presentation and then ask questions about it? Hearing none, we're out of rules. Okay. So, you guys, whenever you want, please, we're ready for you. And we'll ask you questions at the end.
My name is Steve Rose, the Office of Human Resources.
I'm Mark Walters from the Office of Human Resources.
And we're part of the project team for HR design. Bob Lavinia, who's the lead, wanted to be here tonight, but he's not feeling so well. So it falls to us to come here, and we're happy to be here. We came to, I don't know if that was a council meeting the last time, was it? We was in a much smaller, much less fancy room in Memorial Union. And so we probably didn't bring enough handouts, and I apologize for that. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint, and the handout is a copy of the PowerPoint pretty quickly, because to do this justice would probably take us 30, 40 minutes or so, and realize your time is valuable and present it for 15. So I'm not going to go over everything on here. And Mark, we flipped a coin, and I won, so I'm here. And Mark is going to, I'm up here. Mark is going to correct me when I've misspoken and to supplement. So the HR design, this came about as a result of Act 32, which was the budget bill for 2011-13. And in that budget bill was language that said, the chancellor shall develop a personnel system separate and distinct from the personnel system under Chapter 230. The Chapter 230 is the state statutes that apply mostly to classified employees. Perhaps many think of them, these employees, as civil service employees. And they're part of the state system. But there are also aspects of Chapter 230 that apply to other employees, like staff, and student hours. With Chapter 230 going away on July 1 of 13, because that's when we have to implement, there was a lot to do. The university, we could have just made changes to the things that were required that were in Chapter 230, but the chancellor and the vice chancellor and the provost felt that this was an opportunity to make some changes to the personnel system that should have been made a while ago in the law. Now, I am not going to go through all of these things. Our boss, who's not here tonight, loves graphics, and he could talk about half an hour about this. But these are the reasons why we feel we need a new HR system. And you can obviously ask questions for as long as you want. We developed a vision that was approved by a number of entities at the university for the project. Ultimately, the vision is to be, as part of the university's vision is to support this, to be a resource, a model university for the 21st century. And we're looking to include things like efficiency, flexibility, alignment across an entire employee life cycle, trying to get everything, consistency, transparency, and we say we're trying to achieve diversity, engagement, right talent and fit, which means the right people in the right jobs, and adaptability. And I'd be happy to take questions. I told Maria that she could give me this sign if need be. This chart or graph depicts the arc of the project, and I'll just take a second to go through this. We have the campus strategic framework, which exists outside of HR. We had a group called the Badger Working Group that it was very representative group. Students were on it. Leland was the ASM representative, and we had representatives of labor and governance groups and administration. And they developed some parameters, some principles that were then approved by later groups. We had the vision I just showed you. Then we had 11 work teams. So we had 11 work teams that were made up of people from the different representative groups, some HR people and some other administrative people. And there were students on each of these groups. And in addition to the work groups, we also had still an advisory committee, and Kevin Walters is your representative on that. And I don't think we must have, we probably met 20 times, or it seems like an awful lot. That yeah, it's over here. Okay, so the work teams made they came up with draft recommendations. Then they got governance and stakeholder input, advisory committee input, and then they came up with the final set of recommendations for each of those teams. Then we got governance and stakeholder input and advisory committee input on that, and then we developed a plan, which is what's out now and what we're talking about folks with. And there are a number of very important changes. We need some statutory changes. We need to change policies. We need to change, and this is obviously the most challenging, some culture. We want to give, for example, require faculty to have supervisory training. It's unheard of to require faculty to be trained. Yes?
What kind of statutory change?
Good question. The main statutory change we need is to allow the university to give faculty and academic staff performance increases. Some of our classified employees now can get performance increases, but the faculty and the academic staff cannot outside of a pay plan, which hasn't happened in about 12 years.
There are other things, Spark, that Steve mentioned, for our classified employees, most of the provisions that are covered classified employees are in Chapter 230. So we need to take any of those provisions under Chapter 230 that we want to retain for our employees on campus. We need to move them over. Some of those require some statutory changes, that much of it can be accomplished through board of region policy and policy. So that's what we're part of the great statutory changes.
So you're talking about performance-based pay. I'm hoping you could expand how that would affect student workers, so both student hourly and then teaching assistants. I realize it's very different, so we can address some stuff.
Okay, sure. For student hourlies, we can do performance-based increases right now, and I think some of the units that rely on students, I believe, for example, housing has some performance increases for a plan. I don't know exactly, but that's doable now. For teaching assistants, we don't need a statutory change, but as I'm sure you know, we have negotiated for years and years and years with the Teaching Assistants Association about TA's salary. And none of the contracts had any performance component to it. Now the TAA no longer represents the grad assistants because of Act 10, the governor's bill. So we can't negotiate with them. But we're not about to put in place any sort of performance increases for them. We know that the TAA is opposed to performance increases, so I don't see that happening.
How would those performance, how would that evaluation, the copy that is provided to us, it talks in page 44 about how there will be no set methodology, but that there will be a standard